Alright, today we're going to be looking at how to deal with equations where you have a fraction involved. And it's a pretty simple procedure. So if we look at our first one, A, we have x over 2 is equal to 7. Now in order to solve, what we want is to have the pronumeral, which is our letter here, on its own. Okay, in order to do that, what we're going to do is try and undo what's been done here. This is essentially x divided by 2, right? So x divided by 2 is equal to 7. So half of x is equal to 7. In order to make it a complete x, what we're going to do is the opposite procedure. So because this is divide, we're going to multiply both sides by 2. End result will be x is equal to 7. The reason for this is if we did the actual working out, we could see that what we have is 2 times x over 2 is equal to 7. Now this is the same as 2 over 2 times x is equal to 7. And 2 over 2 is just 1, so 1 times x is equal to 7, which is the same as x is equal to 7. Alright, let's get rid of all of that, and let's continue doing our work. Right, so now that we've done that for A, we can see x is equal to 7, you can see how these can be very simple and only involve one step. You don't actually have to do these arrows. You can use them at the start, but oftentimes it's just easier once you know what you're doing to not do them. So if we look at B, we have 5h over 6 is equal to 15. So the general process is multiply both sides by our denominator. Right, so let's do that. Let's multiply this side by 6 and see what we get, and this side by 6 and see what we get. So if I'm dividing by 6 and multiplying by 6, then it just becomes 5h and the fraction is gone. And then 6 times 15 is just 90. Now in order to go determine what h is, we have to do another step. We're going to divide both sides by the coefficient of x. And the coefficient is just a number out the front, and not of x. In this case, it's the coefficient of h. Right, remembering in an equation we have to do the same thing to both sides, otherwise it is no longer an equation. So 5 groups of h divided by 5 just results in h, and 90 divided by 5 results in 18. You can do that rather quickly by just realizing that if we have 9 groups of 5, we have 45, and then multiplying that by 2 will give us 18. Alright, let's look at C. So for C we have minus 8k over 3 is equal to 16. All we're going to do is multiply both sides by that denominator. So this side we multiply by 3, and so will this side. Right, so if we're dividing by 3 then multiplying by 3, we're effectively doing nothing. So this becomes 8k minus 8k. And then 16 times 3 is 30 plus 18, which is 48. Right, now as we did before, we're going to divide both sides by our coefficient. In this case, we're going to include that negative sign. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 8. You can use those arrows if you like. So negative 8 divided by negative 8 will just be 1, so this will be equal to k, so those cancel out. Right, now in order we have a positive in the terms of 48 and a negative in negative 8, we know that our answer is going to be negative. A positive divided by a negative will be a negative. Now, all we have to do now that we determine the sign is to do 48 divided by 8, and 48 divided by 8 is just 6. Alright, let's do one more. So we have D, we have 6y over minus 4 is equal to negative 18. Right, In order to simplify this fraction, we're going to multiply both sides by that denominator. So let's do that. Let's use the arrows again. Times -4 and times -4. So if we multiply by our denominator, we will just get the numerator, which is 6y. Now, a negative multiplied by a negative will be a positive, so we get rid of that negative sign, and now all we have to do is 18 times 4. 18 times 4 is just going to be 40 plus 32, which is going to be 72. Okay, last step, divide both sides by the coefficient, which in this case is 6. Alright, so 6y divided by 6 is just y, and then 72 divided by 6 is going to be equal to 12. Okay, 10 groups of 6 is 60, 11 is 66, and 12 is 72. Alright, that's it for this video. Hopefully it's helpful, and I will see you in the next one.